Inconceivable. 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 Inconceivable.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Inconceivable.
There you go.
There you go. I got it. I'm Scoff.
I'm Wonk.
Hi.
And this time you said it wrong.
What do you mean?
You got mad at me last time. I was like, welcome to Inconceivable. And you were all, oh, you said it wrong. It's supposed to be inconceivable.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You said it.
You are fake news.
I have the evidence in the last episode.
You don't have any evidence. You want to know why? Because the idea that you have evidence is inconceivable.
What?
I don't know. Let's move on.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is episode 5.
Episode 5. 5.
How did we feel about the last episode?
This one was good. I'm curious to see what's gonna top it or what's gonna come next.
I do have some crazy things still.
I'm still on the skeptical side about the last one, but we'll move forward. We'll see if the new one can be conceivable or not.
All right. Well, I said so in an effort to. I've kind of talked about how I try and do a balance of maybe slightly more conceivable versus slightly less conceivable. And I also haven't mentioned already, though, that I'm also trying to balance kind of like themes or similarities.
Yeah.
So like I'm not going to do 2 UFO abductions in one season or like 2 medical mysteries. Like I'm going to try and have a mix of here's a medical mystery, here's a survival story, here's a paranormal thing, and have it all mixed in there. So what I'm excited for is that even though I have several crazy stories, I have to split them up between seasons just because they're similar. So people can look forward to each season and still having
something
new crazy stories and something they want. So it's not like we're just going to have 2 great seasons and then run out of ideas after that, you know?
So what's the theme for today's?
So today's, I said, was a bit more down to earth. Maybe some people won't think so because when I think about it, it's maybe not as much.
Okay, that narrows it down.
But this episode today is like more horror.
I like horror.
Creepy and horror.
I like horror.
I'm glad. I thought you'd be excited for this
horror.
one. That being said, I don't think you'll believe it.
Oh, no.
But I think you'll enjoy it because it's creepy.
All right, let's go.
Alrighty. Have you heard of the film called The Omen?
No.
Yes.
Actually.
Yes. You have heard of The Exorcist.
Yes.
This horror film was trying to replicate the success of The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And it has some of the same things going on, the same like conspiracy theories and debates as happened also with
The Exorcist?
Was it the Poltergeist? I think
Yeah,
it was Poltergeist.
people were talking about how the film was haunted.
Yes.
Itself, like...
Yes, exactly.
Weird things were happening, or people were getting hurt on set.
I don't know why I didn't write in my notes here, and I can't actually remember if Poltergeist came out before or after The Omen, because I'm horrible in terms of like dates and movies, and like unless it's a very significant film, in my opinion, I'm not gonna remember it. So, maybe people will comment on that, and then we can see. But basically, it's gonna be kind of along the same lines here, except this one, in some people's opinion, even though it's less famous maybe than Poltergeist, it's actually a bit more ridiculous in terms of the weird stuff that happened.
Okay.
And very creepy. I will say that.
I like it.
So the producer of this film, Harvey Bernard, thinks that it's just going to be easy money because, like I said, they're trying to replicate the success of this other really successful film, The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And the idea for the film was basically just about the Antichrist.
I did not give them the rights to make a movie about me. I'm very offended.
Oh, Lord.
I demand royalties.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Antichrist. Got it.
And the idea came from a man named Robert Munger.
Okay.
Or Munger. One of the two. But, like, even though it was his idea, before production on the film even began, he warned people, this movie's gonna be cursed. He said, you know what would be a great idea for a movie? Let's make a movie about the Antichrist. Oh, but I should warn you, it'll be cursed. That's basically what happened.
Okay.
Is that not weird?
I feel like he might have been doing that just for lols.
Dramatic effect.
Like, if I'm writing a story about, the Antichrist, like anything like ridiculously evil, I'm like, hey, I found this ancient ritual to summon Beelzebub. We're gonna
Lord.
throw that in our. I might make an offhand comment like, and we're all gonna die.
That's true.
You know?
But he literally said, quote, "The devil doesn't want us to make the picture," unquote.
I think that's market. I think that was marketing.
I do too, but it's very weird.
That sounds like the tagline on a shitty movie poster from like the 80s. Like the movie Satan doesn't want you to see.
Oh Lord. Yes, I agree with you, but I also just think this sounds like a very weird dude.
It is a weird dude, absolutely.
Anyway, so in 1975, filming begins, or production, whatever, everything begins in London. So, before the filming starts, the leading man, Gregory Peck's son, commits suicide.
Okay.
And so that's already got to be affecting this man, who is wanting, he probably didn't have much of a choice in the matter, but he needs to kind of move on and continue with filming The Omen.
Yeah.
But this just happened to his son, so he's probably already full of, like,
he's not in the
grief
best
and,
mental state.
Yeah, I don't think so. So that happens, and then he flies to London, where the production and the filming and everything must be happening, and while he's flying, his plane is struck by lightning. So that's something.
Was anyone hurt? Did the plane collapse?
It doesn't...
Right.
It seems like the plane was fine. But it was struck by lightning.
So, and we don't have the numbers on this, but now you got me thinking, just to like kind of veer off for a second.
Okay.
How common is that, though?
Should we Google it right now?
I kind of want to Google it, because when you think about how many... I read somewhere that there are lightning is basically constantly striking the Earth.
Yeah.
Every year. So...
I don't know.
We have
how
planes
common.
every year. And every day. Apparently, 7,000 U.S. planes are struck by lightning every year.
Okay. So if we divide that by the days in the year...
Divide that into the days in the year, so...
What is that, like
7,365. That's basically like 20 planes getting struck by lightning a day.
Okay. That's
So
fair.
yeah, that's weird. And see, this is what I mean. You hear these claims, and I'm not at all saying you. I'm just like, when you listen to stories, there's these claims that are like, that's really insane. Or, like there's the guy who got struck by... There's multiple people who have been struck by lightning multiple times, and you're like, there's only like a 1 in, 100,000 chance that's gonna happen. It's like, yeah. But there's been like 7 billion... Or there's 7 billion people on the planet right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like... I don't know where I'm going with this, but...
Anyways, so then the man named... I can't decide if that's a V or a U that I put, but it's either Nevfield or Newfield. Probably Newfield. Probably Newfield. Which I don't remember why, but I forgot to write what his role was in the film. Sorry.
Inconceivable.
I'm sorry. Another guy also flies to London.
Okay.
His plane is also struck by lightning.
Okay, now 2 for the same movie, it's a little bit
Yes.
less likely,
That's very
but
odd.
still not, like, insane.
I would also like to remind you and our listeners that filming has not even begun on this film.
The devil's just down there, just like, I know what y'all are up to.
It's not gonna happen. I'm gonna prevent it. I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird. So the film hires a small plane for aerial scenes, but then the plane gets switched to a new client at the last minute, so they have to get a replacement or whatever. Yeah. But the plane that they were supposed to have crashes on takeoff, killing every single person on board.
Jesus Christ. I mean, those poor people, but that's...
Yes! It's very upsetting.
That would suck. Especially because, like, I don't know what plane safety records were like in the mid-70s. But I know nowadays, and it's probably just because you're so much more likely to drive a car, but you're far more likely to die in a car accident than on a plane.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's not good. That's not a good sign.
It's not
that's
a good
not
sign.
A good omen, you might say.
You're so funny.
Alright.
Okay. So moving on, they also seem to have weird... So this is the whole section that's talking about planes and the weird things going on with planes.
Yeah.
So now we're moving on to the section where they seem to have issues with animals that are involved with the film.
Okay.
So there's a scene where baboons in the zoo go crazy, and the trainer who was hired to work with them, the day after they film this scene, he dies in another scene that involves a tiger.
Wait, he dies from the tiger?
Yes, the tiger kills him.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate.
That's not how I want to go.
That's the details I was able to find on this are very vague.
Okay.
In some articles, it was said that they wanted to have the tiger in a completely separate scene.
Yeah.
But then this happened, so...
I mean, yeah, that would kind of change things around a little bit. That would pretty much
put a halt to those plans.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the animal trainer who worked with the baboons in a crazy scene where they go nuts is killed by a tiger the next day. Yeah.
I mean, animals are unpredictable.
Yes, especially tigers.
I'd be fine if someone's like, hey, do you want to work with animals? I'd be like, I'll be a goldfish trainer.
I don't think goldfish can be trained.
I'll do like tricks with house cats. Like,
I mean,
that
has
hey,
happened.
You sleep. Don't move for 8 hours.
Stare at the wall.
Clean yourself, right? Like, I can do that. A tiger is kind of where I draw the line.
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't end there. There were also dogs, like, you know, the big, scary kind of dogs, like probably Rottweilers or something.
Rottweiler, yeah.
Who were part of a different chasing scene, which is like an iconic scene in this film, apparently.
Okay.
And they also reportedly went berserk and refused to stop biting and attacking the stuntsman even after the trainers were trying to intervene.
Uh-huh.
And they basically almost killed a stuntsman who's covered in protective equipment.
Huh.
So there's that too.
Yeah, and see, I can see this argument going both ways, right? In movies and media and popular culture, animals are always portrayed as having greater senses than humans when it comes to supernatural things.
Yeah.
So, like, something supernatural could have spooked them, or they could have been like, hey, guys, you're being stupid. Or they could have been driven mad. But I've also, like, animals are animals.
Yeah.
Right? Like, as good as you can train an animal not to do something, it's the same as training a human not to do something. Sometimes we don't listen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But this is a lot of things happening.
It's a lot of things happening. Movie. The dog thing, so far with the planes and like the tiger and everything, that I'm like, oh, that's creepy. Yeah. With the dogs, that one I'm a bit less...
They normally train the dogs pretty well, but
I'm just saying, if you're trying to train... So if it's like a chasing scene, and it's like, okay, dogs, you're gonna aggressively chase after this man and pretend that you're going to attack and eat him.
Yeah.
But don't actually attack and eat him.
It's like when you're playing with your cats or dogs and they don't recognize when playtime has ended.
Exactly.
You know, they actually start to go at you because...
Like, these are animals. They're smart animals, but they don't see where the line is drawn like humans do.
Yeah.
So I don't really see the dog thing as too compelling, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think that could just be a thing.
However, it gets weirder.
Alrighty.
So, the same guy whose plane was struck by lightning, Newfield, he's staying at the London Hilton Hotel with his wife, where he and his wife, they miss an attack by the IRA. Irish Republican Army.
Yeah.
So they missed this attack, but the hotel that they were staying at, the London Hilton, was bombed by the IRA while they were out. So that's cool.
That's
ish.
Fun times.
Which you're like, oh, that's a near miss. Like, it could happen to anybody. In a lot of articles I read, people are like, this is a complete separate story because the IRA are bombing a whole lot of things. I was about to say,
at this point in time, the IRA were kind of,
yeah.
So
people are like, oh, that could have happened to anybody. Like, it's a minimal chance coincidence, but it could happen.
Yeah.
Well.
Uh-oh.
Later, the same guy, Bernard, and others are en route to a trendy London restaurant, and they happen to get delayed. Minutes before they were supposed to arrive, it is also blown up by the IRA.
I think it's still just, bad luck,
right.
Bad timing. It's a little weird. Like, I don't think Satan's, got a telegraph or telephone somewhere nowadays. It's just like, beep, 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 sending messages up. Like, hey,
fair.
It'd be really funny if you bombed this target right now. Lols, see you later.
Yeah. So, I mean, Devil's Work
Devils
maybe
work in
not.
mysterious ways. But...
No, devil's work, maybe not.
Okay,
but
yeah.
like,
Weird
is it
stuff.
beyond coincidence? Maybe. It's kind of creepy.
It's a little weird.
Especially the struck by lightning thing. Like, I didn't actually take the time to Google the statistics on that, so I'm glad you did, because it seems like it's relatively rare.
Yeah.
So anyways, the film purposefully, because this is a horror film and they do anything they can to market it, right?
Absolutely.
So purposefully they released the film June 6th, 1976. 666.
Nice.
By now, Satan's pissed.
Yeah. Be like, you're using my likeness and now you're stealing my symbols and my my numbers? Like, what is this, man? Just brutal stuff.
So anyways, that's just, when the movie's released, and that's not, like, a huge detail, but I thought I'd mention it.
That's funny.
The most spooky story that's involved with the film The Omen has to do with the special effects guy named John Richardson.
Okay.
So this is the guy who created the iconic scenes in this movie, which I should mention, it's a bit of an older film, and yes, there was stuff like The Exorcist and whatever, but these were the films that were kind of starting to push the boundaries of how horrifying things could get in a movie, in terms of the gore and the graphic details.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry?
There's always been a lot of censorship, not necessarily, pure censorship, but a lot of media kind of went through a phase, I'd say from, the 30s, 40s, up to, the 60s, 70s, where it was kind of odd to show a lot of stuff. I know comics did.
Yeah.
And I know some movies, it was kind of you don't really show a lot of direct violence.
Yeah, it was more
blood.
the practice to imply things that happened
Yeah.
instead of just show it straight on.
Yeah.
So anyways, the goal with this film was basically just to completely shock and horrify audiences and make them walk out of the theater being like, oh my god, did we just watch that? That's crazy.
Push the boundaries.
Basically. Anyways, this guy creates all the iconic death scenes, and including one of the first decapitation scenes that were on film.
Nice.
So that's interesting. And in this scene, the head gets cut off of the body by a pane of glass that goes bouncing through the air.
Okay.
And like I mentioned, when this aired, it's like a nightmare.
Yeah, this isn't like what we see nowadays with movies where we're like we just finished watching The Meg before we started recording.
Yes.
And we're like, oh, that dude got eaten. Oh, his hand's left. That's neat. And he just continued the conversation.
Yeah.
Back then it would have been like, holy cow.
Like a shark biting someone in half. Oh my god.
It's like, I need to go to extra church. This
my god.
This is bad.
So anyways, I'm just trying to kind of put people in the mindset of when this first aired, which is that it's a big deal. So anyways, this is the creepy finale story. This might end up being a bit of a shorter episode, but anyways. Richardson, the special effects guy,
yes,
and his assistant, Liz Moore, are driving on their way. So they're done filming The Omen, and now they're on their way to a new film. And I don't know why, but they're driving really late, and it's just after midnight. And it's the 13th of June, 1976. So it is really just after the release, because it was released the 6th of June. And, for people who might notice this, I'm just going to point it out that it is on the 13th. Unlucky 13.
666 and then 13. Wow.
I'm just saying.
I know.
I'm like just letting you guys know. It's on the 13th.
Devil's a showman.
So while they're on their way to film this new film, they're in a deadly car accident. And that wouldn't be a big deal except for the details of the accident.
Okay.
Moore, the assistant, is decapitated by the other car's flying wheel. Just like the on-screen photographer in the film.
Decapitated by a wheel.
I don't know.
I'm trying to do the logistics. I'm not doubting it happened. I'm just trying to do the logistics in my head. A wheel is thick.
Well, it wasn't just the head. It cut off.
Yeah, it
kind
must
of
have been going at such a
upper
speed
body
that it just
I don't know. Huh. All I know is that's what I read and I read several articles to compare details because some of them did vary a tiny bit.
That's interesting.
But yeah.
Not for him, but...
It says decapitated, but in a different article it kind of implied, well, it's a thick wheel. It took off kind of like the upper part of the body. But it was still a very eerie, similar situation to the on-screen situation. The special effects guy, Richardson, survives because he gets, I guess, thrown from the car.
Probably wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
Could be. Anyways, so he's just kind of lying dazed on the road, and he's like, oh my god, did this just happen? This is crazy. And he says this happened, so this isn't just reporters speculating, but he says that he's dazed in the middle of the road, but when he comes to and opens his eyes, he looks up to see a sign reading Omen 66.6 kilometers away. And this film is called The Omen, by the way.
I don't believe that part. Because of one simple thing.
What?
One simple thing. Have you ever seen a road sign that specified 0.0 kilometers?
Yes, I have.
Not when it's that far away.
I don't know.
I've seen like 2.6. I've never seen like Lethbridge is 216.32 kilometers away. That seems a bit much.
Let me finish.
Letting you finish. She's finished.
Because this is a crazy detail, it had to be verified.
Okay.
This sign does exist.
Oh my gosh.
And Omen is in fact the closest town to where the accident took place, which is Omen in the Netherlands.
That's
a legitimate town.
That's insane.
Exactly.
That's weird.
So that's the last thing directly related, like, to the filming and the conclusion of the film. But there's still more. So there was a release of the reboot of the film.
Okay.
The Omen. And that film also followed the numerical tradition and released it in 666.
Yeah. At this point, you have to. It's just part of the game.
Yeah.
You know.
Another person involved with that film, whose name I'm going to butcher because it looks so hard to pronounce. Postlewaite?
Sure.
Postlewaite. I have no idea. It's literally spelled Postlewaite.
I can't even read, so I can't
So
help you with that one.
I have no idea how you're supposed to pronounce that. But his brother died during the filming of this film. And apparently the lads, quote, down at the brothers' poker club reported that before this, in an open 3-card poker game, the brother drew 3 6s.
You can just... Yeah.
Your eyebrow cock was perfect.
But it's just...
So, that to me is just a bit of an afterthought in terms of
that is
the details and the curse, quote unquote. But the reason this one is very compelling, and it's mostly talked about because of that last event with the car crash.
The car crash is interesting. The thing people always forget about a coincidence is, like, statistically, coincidences aren't that uncommon. Like, when you think about the amount of people that do things throughout the day, right? And the amount of things that happen every minute of every day and every year that's ever been. If someone's like, well, there's a 1 in a million chance that's going to happen. Well, that just happened to, like, 700 or 7,000 people today.
Yeah.
Right? If you're like, there's a 1 in a million chance you're going to be struck by lightning, statistically, that means that if it's every day you have a 1 in a million chance, 7,000 people are going to have that event happen to them.
Yeah.
But what's weird about this is that it's multiple events
related to one thing.
Like, if you said it was just like, oh yeah, he shot a scene and then he got decapitated later, I'd be like, it's weird. Statistically, it's going to happen. But combined with everything else, you're kind of like, the more in-depth or the more consecutive strange occurrences happen, the larger the statistical improbability of it happening becomes, because you're adding them together.
Yeah.
So that is what's weird about it. I will admit, this is a weird string of things
to
happen.
Before we kind of conclude our thoughts here, I just want to lay down everything for our listeners just so they can keep track. But basically, to sum it up, you have the lead actor's son who commits suicide, which may or may not be related, but it's just something that happened. 2 planes that are hit by lightning en route to the filming of this film. You have the wild dogs going crazy, the tiger going crazy. You have the plane that was supposed to be hired for the movie that crashed.
Yeah.
You also have the
car accident, and then the 666 and brother death.
I feel like I missed something. Oh, and the 2 near misses with the IRA bombings.
Yes.
So that's everything, which is a long list. So when you look at those individually, like we have, you're like, okay. But when you list all of those, that is odd.
The only, saving grace for my mind to not be like, okay, Satan likes to mess with us, would be like, a movie typically takes several months to film.
Yeah.
And there are dozens, if not hundreds. It sounds like a smaller movie. It's probably had a few dozen people working on it. Right? And that kind of, things happen to people. Like, if you just said, the main actor's son committed suicide and the one dude's brother died, it'd be like, yeah. It happens, right? Like, that kind of stuff is a lot more common. Things happen, right? But, yeah, the car accident one for me is a little bit, hard to explain.
Yeah.
Statistically, I don't know how common it is to be decapitated by a wheel. I
don't
feel
know.
like that's a new one.
It sounded very odd to me when I researched it. I was like, did I read this right?
You're just rereading it huh.
I was maybe if the wheel had been deflated and it's just the metal round
That's what I was thinking, the rim just flying
something
off,
like that.
A frisbee of death.
Yeah.
But
that would make sense.
No, I definitely think this is conceivable. Mm-hmm. I do think it is a very odd string of events to occur. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to be like, it's impossible, this has to be a supernatural thing. I'm no, this is highly, highly unlikely, and it sucks for a lot of people.
It does.
But I think it's well within the realm of possibility. Mm-hmm. Especially, I'm sure if we Googled a bit more, lightning strikes, it's okay, those aren't actually super uncommon, but they're not exactly, it's gonna happen to you. I've been on planes. I've probably been on 12 planes in my life, and never have we been hit by lightning that I've known, right?
No.
And the car accident is definitely odd. The IRA bombings, that stuff was happening at the time. Still very impressive. They managed near misses on both.
Yeah.
But overall, conceivable, but
not Satan's work.
I'm still gonna throw some salt over my shoulder.
Okay. All right.
You know?
All right. Fair.
Just a pinch of salt.
I do want to conclude by saying that, in my opinion, it's bizarre and it's intriguing and it's kind of fascinating just to think about how all these coincidences could have all happened near the same period to the same people.
Yeah.
But for me, I think what would have really pushed it over the edge and made it super creepy if we had all of these near misses be actual fatal catastrophes.
Oh yeah,
if the planes struck by lightning had resulted in the deaths of people involved in the film.
Yeah.
If people, there was the one guy who died by the tiger, but if the other guy had actually been killed by the dogs, if the IRA bombings had actually killed people involved in the film,
I agree with you. That would kind of tip it into being okay.
That would have tipped it into me being holy shit, Satan's pissed.
Yeah.
You know, it's because there were so many near misses.
Yeah. And that definitely would change the narrative quite a bit from, hey, weird stuff has happened to this film. It's okay, people are dying.
Yeah.
It looks like we're in a found footage film right now. We need to leave.
Yeah. These near misses just come off as warnings, not I'm going to halt the production of this film, even if I have to kill everyone involved.
Yeah.
You know?
Satan's just sending cease and desist letters up, but it's in the form of tiger maulings.
Oh, Lord. So I just found this one more intriguing, but I should say, I think with the Poltergeist film curse, if people liked this episode, they might want to look more into that, because I think in the case of the Poltergeist films, it did actually result in deaths. Not just accidents and weird events, but full-on deaths.
If I remember, yeah. I mean, we had one death that was related directly to the filming.
We had a couple, the son of the one guy and the son of the other guy that are just kind of could be related.
But the tiger mauling is no, that was a direct result of the film.
Well, and also the plane crash that was supposed to have happened to these guys, but happened to the guys who got changed to that plane last minute. But anyways, so hopefully some people did find this very intriguing and enjoyable for this episode. And I encourage you to look into the other film curses that are, allegedly a thing. And I'm excited for the next episode. Which is a paranormal one.
Okay.
So this is the one where Scoff's gonna be like a total cynic and shaking his head and like, this is bullshit. But I think it'll be very entertaining for those who are non-believers like this guy, because you guys can listen to all his wisecracks. And then for those of you who are maybe more open-minded like me and just find it fascinating, there's a lot of very cool details involved with this one.
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
But
I'm excited.
Thank you for joining us this time on Inconceivable.
And we will see you for the next episode. Episode 6. Episode 6.
666.
No, just 6.
Oh. One day.
I feel like if we ever get to 666
it
episodes,
has to be a satanic thing.
we just omit it and avoid.
You just go to like episode 667. 665 to 667.
Or just like title it the Phantom episode and just have it be like static and sounds for 30 seconds.
Just file corrupted. That's the entire thing.
We'll see. Drop some comments or some emails and give us ideas.
And then people who haven't seen this one will be freaked out.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Yeah, they'll be like, what's happening? Anyways, we will see you guys next time.
Have a good one. Bye. You want to go watch that movie?
Hell no.